Hello everyone, it's Choobie.
And I'm Vanessa, and we
are No Filters, No Fears podcast. Hello Fearless fam, today's level elephant is a level 4. And with our title, The Clock is Ticking, you can already imagine what we're going to be talking about. So yes, we're going to be talking about the biological clock, women wanting children, and societal standards of when you should have kids or you should have had kids by now, and about people not wanting kids. So this is going to be a fun, interesting topic, and let's see what we all have to say about this. The biological clock refers to the concept of ovarian reserve, or simply the total number of follicles one has left on the ovaries. A woman has the most eggs she will ever have when she is in her mother's uterus at about 20 weeks of pregnancy, roughly 20 weeks before she's even born. The biological clock really starts ticking at their age 32, when doctors can detect a decline in eggs and quality and therefore fertility. Gibbons says every year after 32, your chances of having a baby drops. Yeah, and with that being said, this conversation that me and Vanessa had before, we are in the totally opposite spectrum. I don't like kids. I don't want kids. Other people's kids are fine from afar. Hey, how are you? I babysat my nieces when they were babies, but I personally do not find them to be a necessity in my life. I do not think that they will bring joy to me because I honestly just don't like children. I don't like that responsibility when I know that I am selfish in that way with my time, And Vanessa finds it obviously the opposite. She thinks they're glorious, and, you'll hear her taking a bit. But, I grew up in a household with 8 people. Yes, my family is large, and I grew up in Puerto Rico, and my cousins, a bunch of people, right? And both sides of my parents are equally large. Was it 12 kids in each? So you could imagine how big the family is. But growing up in a household where there are 8 people and you don't have any privacy, everybody knows your business, everybody, obviously you have to share, and I'm good at sharing. I give back to my community, but that's not the point. Just having to hear all that noise, and I'm a person that I like my peace and quiet. Being home alone is my thing, my sanctuary, and it's my thing. So having to have other people in the house, having to hear the crying, hear this, and I like to travel, and I like to go places, and I like to pick up and go, and I like to not have to worry about anybody else's feelings or emotions in that sense. So the kids thing was never a thing. Since I was 9 years old, I told my older sister, I don't want kids. I don't want children. I don't want this, and to this day, I'm in my 30s now. I still don't find them appealing. And, I do wish I could give my ovaries to somebody who do want children, because I know that there are a lot of women out there who want children who cannot have them, and it does make me feel for them, because they want something that I have that I don't want to use, that I don't care for. And, as Vanessa's gonna, say in a bit, we were raised in a society where, not even a society, in your household, being Hispanic, yeah, they are asking, oh, when are you gonna have kids? And I'm over here no, I don't want any. My nieces asked me, they're 12 and 15, Tia, are you gonna have any kids? And then I told them, no. You have other tios and aunts, that they could give you kids, but from me, you're not getting any cousins or nephews, nothing. I mean, no, none of that, and they were sad, But I told them it's just a personal thing that I just don't want. I'm not gonna base my life around other people just because they want me to have kids. I'm not gonna go and pop 3 or 4 just because. That's not how it works, you know. And I was explaining to them that if when you get to your age you want them, you know, good for you. Go and have whatever you want, whatever is gonna make you happy, and go right ahead with your choice, with what feels right to you. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, if this feels right to you and you feel like you want them, do the choice for yourself. Just like Vanessa said, she wants kids on her for her. I mean, on her own. If that were to be a thing, she wouldn't be upset about it. And that's the thing. Nowadays, women have been wanting adopting kids by themselves or having children on their own. And guess what? That's perfectly fine. There is no right way or wrong way to have children, you know, and there's no wrong way or right way to live your own life. You know, our grandparents, you know, all they were taught was you finish school, you get married, you have a house, you have kids, you have no career, none of that, and this is it. You know, then our parents, you know, had the kids, and some did go to school, but some didn't, and they were just, um, staying home, staying home moms. And now, or most still, had both careers and took care of their children. But now our generation, they are just starting now to have kids in their late 30s, or they simply don't want any. And we can't tell them that they're wrong for that, you know? And every time I hear someone saying, oh, I'm on my third kid, I'm like, good for you. I am on my fourth, state traveling. Okay, what do you want me to do, And they make it, they say that statement as is to offend. And in my mind, sometimes I feel like you made your choice and I'm making mine, and I am happy with mine, and I'm here living my life and you're living yours. So this pressure of being a certain age, and them seeing that you don't have any kids or you're not even in a relationship and you're just living your life as you please, bothers some people. And again, me and Vanessa on the opposite spectrum of this, because why should I care how other people are living their lives? And why other people should care how I'm living my life, But with that being said, I already told my dad that he's not getting children from me. And that was it, And I don't know, I think we all should respect everybody's decisions on this, And especially since the government, yes, since the government think that they have a right over women presenting and women's bodies, telling them that at a certain age that they can't get their tubes tied because it's like, oh, you might change your mind later on. I feel like that is wrong. One, it's my body. I do as I please. I know for sure since I was 24 that I didn't want any. But here you are telling me I can't get my subsidies, I can't do anything. And you're telling me I need to have 2 kids before I need to do this. How is that even right? And then there are women out there who want to freeze their eggs and they can't even do that. Or, for the future because they want to do this. There's just a lot of things that play into being a woman presenting and having ovaries, basically, and how people treat us, people with ovaries, how they treat them. Like, why are you mad that we don't want children? We're not here to reproduce. That's how I feel. I feel like we're here to live the life we want for ourselves. And if we choose not to have kids, then we chose not to have kids. And they shouldn't hold that against us for wanting to have the life that we want, I just also feel like if you're going to get in a partnership with someone, you need to make sure that your future goals align. Like if your partner wants kids in the future, do you want kids in the future? Because obviously if you don't and and the other person does, it's going to create an atmosphere, between the relationship, and now you're with this somebody a year in and now they want kids and you don't. That's just gonna cause the relationship to break up because that is important to the other person. So obviously, again, like Vanessa said, hashtags, we are not therapists, but just talking and communicating as to what you want for yourself and in the relationship and with your partner, and making sure that you both still align in that way, that your life is going to go smoothly in the sense of what you both want to get together. If you're gonna be together and traveling is both of your thing, it's gonna be fine. But if traveling is one person and settling down, having children is the next, without the traveling part, then there's gonna be some, again, turmoil in the relationship. So always communicate. Communication is essential as well in every aspect of your life. I just feel like if you communicate exactly how you feel, and you will attract the partner that you want, because you're letting them know, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. Your partner will be like, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. Great. You both align. Obviously this eventually change maybe in the relationship, who knows, as the relationship goes on, but still talking about it as you guys are in your first year, second year, couple of months, whatever, will help the relationship further. And then the kids aspect will, either be a part of it or not be a part of it. But fearless fam, leave your comments below on how you feel about this topic, and how you guys, if you guys are married, do you have kids? Would you like kids? Are you planning on it? Like, what's going on with you guys on this topic, especially since most of our listeners are in like early late 20s to like already their 50s. Like, are you in your 50s and don't have kids? Like, what's like, how is that? Let us know in the comments below, because we would like to know how everybody's navigating this whole kids thing, especially in the world we live in right now. Like Vanessa said, yes, it might not be the right time, but there's always some other time. I'm misquoting her here completely, but um you can't let other people choose your life for you. You can't let other people dictate how you're going to live the next 30 years of your life. If you feel like having a kid is a burden in the long run, don't fucking have it. Don't have one. Don't do it. But if you feel like they're going to be a blessing now and they're going to be a blessing in the future, then obviously go right ahead and do your thing and be happy for yourself. That's it. But yeah, here's Vanessa's take on this. Again, she is the opposite. She thinks kids are rainbows and unicorns, and I respect that. And I want you guys to hear her opinion and what, how she feels about it.
Hey, Fearless fam, Vanessa here, and now it's my turn to give you kind of my side of this whole ticking clock topic. It's interesting because I'm on the opposite side of this. I want to very much have a baby or kids. But it's every individual's story and kind of path is different, right? So especially with children and wanting them, there's definitely a bit of individuality in that for me as well. So yes, I want to have kids. I want to be a mommy. But culture and our communities place so much expectation on us as to what the timeline for that needs to be. And it can be really daunting for a very long time, I felt I had to measure up to certain standards because it's how I was taught. It's because what I saw, but not necessarily because it's what rang true to me or my needs or what my path was. And for me, my career and my need to fulfill that and to follow that dream has always been number one. And I've slowly in life begun to figure out what really is true to me, even though it may clash. I don't want to say go against, because they kind of go hand in hand in a way, but clash with how I may have been raised or what I was taught was the quote unquote right way of doing things, right? That being said, like in making those realizations, the wanting of children has always very much been a thing. Since I was a little girl, I dreamed about it. So it's very much something that wasn't just like taught to me. It's something that I genuinely want. And the difficulty, I guess, kind of popped up even when I was married. We had this pressure. Okay, now you've done the thing. We took 7 years to finally decide to get married, and I wasn't mad at that. And even then, I perhaps rushed something that did not need to be rushed. And then it was like that pressure of like, okay, now we're gonna make babies. After a year, we're gonna make babies. And it was so much to ask from a new couple and from people that are trying to still find their way and finish their studies and become their own people. And my aunt always says, that there's never a right time to have a baby, right? And I agree. And at the same time, I disagree because there may not ever be a right time, but there's a better time, right? Especially if you're going through serious financial turmoil and things like that. Granted, if you are pregnant and your choice is to keep the child and go forth, and by keep, I mean, you don't want to go through with a procedure to not be pregnant or to put the baby up for adoption, then you move your ass and you make it happen. You know what I mean? Plenty of people have done it. But there's also that other thing of the sacrifice. We all make sacrifice for things that we want and we love. But if you can sacrifice a lot less and be able to come from a place of desire and joy, I feel like that really translates to that child, and they can see that it's not just been sacrifice because you had no other choice. It's sacrifice for the love of that child, and you're still able to love yourself, if that makes sense. And each person's story is their own. I mean, my mom got pregnant with me while she was in medical school, and she kept on trucking, and a single parent, and her worry was always that I didn't have that male figure. And I did. I had my grandfather, and I had an entire tribe of family that really supported me, and family friends that are family, right, to my mom. And then as I grew up, my family and my tribe just grew. And so did my understanding of what that need to have a child was. And so my new kind of thing that I run into is, Vanessa, you're getting older. You need to have a kid, right? You say you want to, but and inherently we have biological clocks that tick. It's a real thing, right? Some women, certain urges happen, and some women it's not necessarily to have a kid, but to fulfill certain needs. And for me, that ticking clock of having a kid is pretty loud, and I'm not getting any younger. Already, at different stages in your life, the percentages, and I'll share that figure with y'all. Your percentages of likelihood of getting pregnant kind of dwindle the older you get. So already at my age, I'm at a 50% chance that should I choose to get pregnant, there's a 50% chance that I will and that I won't. And the older I get, the more that dwindles. And so you have that inherent nature pressure, pressure from Mother Nature saying, if you don't do it, you don't use it, you lose it. And then you have the outside pressures, the parents, the aunts, even the friends, when are you gonna have a baby? Or have you thought about it? Or not? And should you have a partner, then the pressure becomes, are you guys gonna get married? And are you, and it's like, if that's not what you and your partner have chosen, that's what you and your partner haven't chosen. And even then, there's some things that I may have chosen that my partner hasn't. And then those are other conversations to have or agreements to be made. And even then, I've also like the concept of potentially having a baby on my own adds this whole nother layer of people wanting to tell you how you should do it best. And again, hashtag, I'm not a therapist, but, and I know everyone has the best of intentions and, you know, wanting to put their 2 cents in about what you should do, who you should do it with. And, you know, parents and our family members want the best for us, so they would rather us not be alone and doing this alone. And yes, a partner can give that kind of support, but it's also a beautiful thing when a family or a community of people can come together and lend support. And that's really what I grew up in, and something that I hope to be able to provide my children in the future. Even if that means, and this is something that I've become even more accepting of as a possibility, even if I were to have a kid on my own, it's not something that would make me sad or upset. And in the same way that people put this unnecessary pressure on top of all the other pressures that women have on women to, you know, you have to be a mother by this age, or why haven't you thought about it? They also put this pressure and this stigma on, what do you mean you're going to have a kid on your own? It doesn't really get questioned so much anymore, and it's revered even now, when it's like it started in a partnership and then the mother was left alone and she, you know, single mom, superhero. And they totally are freaking superheroes. My mom is a superhero. My aunt is a superhero. You know, I totally believe that. But when it is a choice, it's as if it's damned or looked down on. You're not making room for a partner unless that's really what you're doing, and then that's your prerogative. But if someone wants to come into my life, they come into my life, but I'm not going to stop my life and my desires and things in the hope of finding, you know, this sort of alignment. You may or may not always align with someone entirely, but if they can accept who you are and what you got going on, I think that's more precious and telling than, you know, trying to fit a square peg, you know, in a circular hole. Anyway, so that being said, I think it's really unnecessary, these kind of pressures that we put on women. And there's a valid point to every side. That's why we have choice. That's why we have free will, right? Some may choose to be the best freaking aunt, or, you know, the best godparent, or the best babysitter for everyone. All of these roles are significant in a child's life. So if one woman chooses, or one person, right, chooses to not, you know, have a child, because it also, I think that this pressure gets put on men, right? And women, people feel they can dictate the woman's body. We see it all the time, from, you know, abortion to pregnancy prevention, right? So it's like, you know, a woman ties her tubes versus the guy, or takes birth control that fucks with our hormones versus, you know, there being another approach to it. So it's always like this rule that it has to be like the woman taking the brunt of it. But at the same time, men also face those difficulties of like, why haven't you and your girlfriend had a kid? Or, hey, you're going to be a dad. Like, they have those equal pressures, not just culturally from their parents, and from their own fathers and from their friends. Like we feel that influence sometimes when we look around and people are kind of building the lives that we hope to have, and we're like, I'm falling behind. But it's not a race, it's not a competition. We each have our own rhythm and path. It's just difficult because you see it happening and you want it so bad. So I think men and women both have, this difficulty, but I definitely, obviously because I'm a woman, it resonates more with me, the pressures that are put on women about all of this. And I would just say, do what feels right for you. We need to break that stigma that it all has to be cookie cutter. You're with someone, and after you're with someone that amount of time, then you get engaged, and you get married, then you have a baby, then you have a thing. Because in that routine, those individuals lose parts of themselves and don't get to fully express and explore certain things, I feel. And that goes on to how they raise their child and so on and so forth. And then there's people that are very sure, okay, this is the one, this is the path I want. And if that's the case, it goes very differently for them. I personally am a believer that there's no rush, there's no timeline. Yes, there is an actual nature telling you, if you don't get pregnant by this chance, the odds of you having a baby are quite different. And that being the case, yes, I feel a bit of pressure. But I also consider, as much as I want to have a child of my own, I also consider all of those, beautiful souls that are in foster homes and in orphanages that need love and family. I have 2 adopted siblings, and that really was life-changing, not just for them because they had a home and a family, but for me and my family. And I would not be opposed to adopting a child. It would be a great joy. But there is something to be said for having that baby that's yours. But these unnecessary pressures, I think what we're finding now more and more in our time is that we can be more accepting of these different or alternate ways of living, loving, and expressing. And if we lean into those kinds of things, we're removing shame from the equation, shame for not getting pregnant at the quote unquote right time, shame for not finishing school at the quote unquote right time, shame for not getting married, not being pregnant, I already said that, not having a relationship dynamic that everyone understands. Oh, what do you mean you have a boyfriend and a girlfriend, or 2 boyfriends? Or what do you mean you're married to one but you also have an open relationship? All of those things that people don't understand and need to have an opinion on. You can have your opinion on it. If it doesn't ring true to you, you don't have to do it. It doesn't change the person living that life and how they related to you if you've had a lovely relationship up to then. And it also doesn't mean that their way is wrong. If it's working for them, if it brings them joy, if it serves their life purpose. We can't assume that all of our life purposes are the same, because if that were the case, there would be no surprises, no little miracles, no joys. And for women in particular, with all of these pressures to be or do or say or act, and all of us coming out of our shell differently and saying, I can be whatever the hell I want, however the hell I want, whenever the hell I want. I think it's definitely pushing the collective conscious to recognize that the possibilities are endless for what something can look like, and it's not going to make or break society if a bunch of women decide that they don't want to be mothers. It's a beautiful addition that we have all that many more aunts and all many more things. And for the people that just don't want to deal with kids at all, like, don't keep them away from me, And man, you know, to each his own. There are millions of us and we obsess over the few thousands. It's like, y'all, there's wars, there's genocides. What are we really worried about? I guess that's my side and also my final thought. Final thought, really sit with yourself and have the conversation if you're doing things for yourself or for someone else, and if it's something you can live with, you know, and let it be your decision, not something that was influenced or pushed by anyone else. And if you are, in a partnership and it's something that you're both discussing, make sure that it's something that you are on the same page about, not that it's going to cause tension between you two that then reflects onto the child that you're hoping to raise with love and understanding. I'm not a parent. I'm an aunt. I am a friend, and I'm a great babysitter. And I hope to be a mom one day. Until that day, I hope that I continue to be respected and appreciated for who and how I am and how I choose to do things. And when the time comes, the time comes. Stay fearless.
Yes, fearless fam. Don't let anybody dictate your life. Do things for yourself. Like, listen to your body, listen to what it's telling you, your own thoughts, and just live life for you. Again, leave comments below how you feel about this topic. How do you feel like it correlates with our everyday life and having ovaries, and just let us know what you guys think. Thank you so much, fearless fam. Stay fearless.